All right, today's movement series is all about lunges. Very similar to the squat movement series. This is one that a lot of people struggle with, especially if they have bad knees. This is one that we can typically correct with form. I see a lot of people doing this incorrectly. And this could be for multiple reasons. You know, they, one, don't know the proper form. Two, they're trying to baby a particular joint. They don't have great balance for a variety of reasons. So we're going to dive right in looking at the lunge. And this, again, like the squat, we are moving in a couple different joints. We're moving at the ankles, the knees, and the hips. We'll first start off with the proper form. What we are trying to do with the lunge is get a 90-degree bend in our both knees, right? So we are trying to get our thigh almost parallel to the ground and getting this back knee down towards the ground as well. As you can see, the ankle is flexed. So if you don't have very good ankle mobility, that can be a tough one. Both knees are flexed, and then you're bending at the hip in one particular leg. The other one, it is a flexed, an extended movement. So if you have tight hip flexors, that can be a limiting factor as well. But when it comes to a lunge, starting off, the biggest thing I see is people try to be on a tightrope. No. You are not going to have very good balance in that position. So just like the squat with your feet under your hips, under your shoulders, we want to do the same thing with our feet in the lunge position, right? Some people call this train tracks, not a tightrope, but train tracks. So starting in your squat position, your starting position, slide that leg back. You're going to have a whole lot more stability in this position rather than this. So that is the first part. Second thing, just like with the squat, if you put a lot of pressure on your toes and move your knee forward, you're going to have some stress on that front knee, which if you have bad knees, we don't want that. This is a great movement for the quads, for the hamstrings, and for the glutes. Core as well, because we're trying to balance. But we can, again, shift that weight, shift that pressure from the knee to the glute. And then you can always use a wall for stability, should you need it. But with this, again, if you find that you're putting a lot of weight forward, we're not shifting our weight forward, we want to go down. Right? So with this, we want to maybe, again, if you have a lot of stress on that front knee, you may want to wiggle your toes and keep a lot of weight in that front heel. See, I can still wiggle my toes, than in the front of the foot. Now, if you don't have any issue with the knee, try to keep your weight evenly distributed in your front foot. But yeah. And again, you don't have to go down very far. If you can't get down to 90 degrees on both knees, that's okay. That is something that we can work up to. If you're here, that's great, okay? All right. But what we essentially want to do is try to get this back knee, try to move this down towards the ground, okay? Now, if you're feeling a lot of stress and pressure on this back knee, then you can shift your weight forward a little bit, or you can shift your weight back, right? The more we have our weight shifted back, the more this back leg is working. The more we shift our weight forward, the more this front leg is working. Either is fine. Just listen to your body, okay? If one knee is talking to you, shift the weight one direction. If the other knee is talking to you, shift it back. Ideally, we kind of have a even split, okay? Now, if this is challenging, again, you don't have to go down very far. It can be one of these. That can be a great modification. Or what you can do we essentially do a lunge to get up off the floor, right? Maybe not always. Maybe it's more of a, no. But what you can do is come down to the floor, have this kind of split, tuck the toe, shift your weight forward, and you're really just using that front leg to stand up. So if you need, go ahead, come all the way down, tuck that back toe, shift that weight forward, push through the heel, use that glute, stand up. So that's a little bit easier now having to balance going up and down. Come all the way down and then stand up. Or if you don't want to have that little pause at the bottom, come all the way down, relax, tuck that toe, balance if you need it, shift your weight forward, stand all the way up. Okay? That can be a variation of a lunge. Now this is a stationary lunge, right? We're talking about stationary. We're just going up and down, right? Down, up, down. Now we have variations like a walking lunge, where, you know, you may hold weight or you may not weight. They call it almost like a wedding walk. So if you're walking down the aisle, no, right? So it would be a lunge together, which is fine. I was taking little steps there so I could stay within the frame. But the distance that you step, that can change how you feel it in certain joints as well. Again, we're trying to aim for that 90-degree bend. Okay. So anything closer than this, it's going to be a little awkward. And anything farther, again, still quite awkward. And you won't get that 90-degree bend in the back leg, or you may be too much of a bend in both legs. With I don't know the proper terminology, for a lunge that you start maybe standing, I typically prefer to step backwards to lunge. So if you were to do an alternating lunge, I would prefer this way. I think it's a little easier on the knees. Now some people prefer stepping forward and then pushing back. Either work. It's a matter of finding what works best for your body, for your knees. I feel it a little bit more in my knees when I push back. That's just me. Okay. Now we do have more advanced variations of the lunge. Something like something to stabilize yourself on. This can be the front leg, it can be the back leg. Okay. Or if that is too much, you can do it barefoot. I say barefoot, without shoes, and have an unstable surface like a mat that your ankles and your toes have to work a little more. A pillow, something like that, can create that instability rather than a hard floor. We can also, this is one that you may see if you go to the gym, we have the Bulgarian split squat, which a lot of, I don't mean to stereotype, but a lot of young women do it for their glutes, which is it's a great exercise for your glutes. But you don't generally see a whole lot of guys doing this movement. They should, it's great. But this is what you'll see a lot of girls do. So they'll have a bench of some sort here, and that's where their back leg goes. Okay. Whether you lay your foot flat or you tuck your toes, either works. But what they'll do, they'll shift their weight forward because that creates a stretch of the glute. The more upright you are, the more this is a quad movement. Not that it isn't a quad movement, but the more you bend forward, you can create that stretch and that stress on the glute for this movement. And that would be, you get far enough out so you're not compromising your knee. And they'll generally hold weights, but you get a good stretch of the glute, they're pushing through the heel, and they'll go here. So that is a variation of the lunge. Yeah, they call it a split squat though. I don't know why. And then we also have more cardio-esque movements for the lunge. So this can be a stationary lunge with a jump. Ooh, again, balance. Okay. It could be a lunge with a knee drive. Lunge, knee drive. Or even adding a jump. Right? Or, I'm getting winded. They call it scissor jumps, or I don't know, scissor jumps is what I would call these, where we switch our legs, a jumping lunge, an alternating jumping lunge, where we switch legs midair, right? I used to make people do this in class when I would teach classes. Right? Now, if you can't do that and you want that cardio version of it, I would have them lunge, jump together. Lunge, jump together. Okay? So, that is the lunge, the appropriate way to do it, all the variations for that particular movement. If you have questions, reach out, let me know. I'll talk to you soon.